startups and supported more than 450 startups and entrepreneurs across India. So this webinar series we have been doing for the past 81 weeks. We are at 82nd webinar today. We wanted to make sure make aware all the opportunities in the various focus areas in the sector. Today we are focusing on creating market linkages farming community, which is extremely important, and at the same time showing what are the opportunities lies for the startups in the sector. To do the same, we are having two startups here with us today. We'll be starting with Mr. Ajit Jengle, co-founder of GRV Junction with a brand name Origin Connect. Mr. Ajit Jengle comes the corporate experience of more than 20 years. They're based out of Mumbai. They're working with the farmers in Maharashtra and other areas where they're creating market-ready, export-ready products which can be marketable easily, and they're creating awareness among farmers so that they can increase their income levels. With this, we welcome you, sir. Please.
Okay, thank you, Yuvraj sir, and good morning to all of you. Welcome to this webinar. I think Manage is doing a fantastic job. This is 82 seminar.
Sir, we lost your voice, sir. Ajit sir, can you please check once?
Is this better now?
Far better, sir. It is far better. Kindly continue, sir.
Okay. So what I was saying is that this is a great initiative where the startups are presenting to the startup ecosystem about their learnings, opportunities, and how exactly we can collaborate with the whole ecosystem. So that is very, very important. I found it very well, and I participated that also as a speaker or as a participant, as an audience also. About me, I'm engineer, MBA finance, so work for 20 plus years, as Yuvraj mentioned, in a different supply chain companies. Started with the Mahindra, then APL Logistics, then Toll Global Logistics as a MD, and then All Cargo Logistics, then TVS Logistics. Finally, I was CEO for DP World. And in this whole process, I got connected with the agri as well as the farmers on the ground, and started understanding the ecosystem of the farmers, which is very challenging. Good news is that India is producing surplus than what is expected or what is the consumption requirement. And this is really good news because 10 to 15 years back situation was not that. But today there's another challenge about the overproduction is about the 40% wastage of the agri-food. Now this 40% export is such a way that some of the categories or commodities like wheat, the kind of wheat we waste in India, that is the national production of annual production of some of the big countries also. So you can understand the quantum of the wastage in the whole process. Now this wastage happened because of what? One is that we are producing more than the consumption. It means that there's a limited customer base, number one. Number two, when we are producing, because seasonal product, we are producing it, we don't have enough infrastructure in the country where we can possibly store it safely for the longer period of time. So that is the second reason. The third reason is mainly a supply chain reason where from the producer to the consumer, there's a huge supply chain and a very complex supply chain. And in that, a lot of wastage is happening in terms of how we cut the crop, how we bag the crop, how we grade the crop, how we store the crop, and how we transport the crop. Normally, any commodity from the farm till consumer is getting handled by almost 20 times. And you can imagine that 20 times if anything like agri is getting handled, you can understand the damages on that particular commodity, specifically when it is going to be a perishable commodity. So I think a lot of supply chain challenges, and when we thought that what are 2 decades of experience I have in a supply chain area, why not to apply that for the agri to streamline the supply chain and create a market linkage for the farmers so that they can get the better price for the commodity what they are producing. At the same time, it may be a wholesaler or the retailer or the consumer, they will get a good produce at a reasonable price. So this is what the drive where we started Origin Connect about 2 years back. Initially, we started with the domestic with a few specific commodities. And last year, as we intended before we started itself, is we started international. Now, domestic supply chain itself is a very challenging. Why challenging? Because when the domestic guy produces this, the farmer produces the crop, he doesn't know where exactly to sell because he doesn't trust somebody who is outside his village or outside his district. And as a reason, he come to the mandi, local mandi, and sell whatever the rate at that moment of time. Or he has somebody whom he trusts and sell to that person. Most of the times in the villages, that is a person who normally fund them while the harvesting process. So he tried to get the customer nearby to him so that he get a cash out of that particular sale. And another reason is that even he don't have sale there, he don't have contacts, maybe the other district or other states. And even he have a contact, he doesn't have a faith there because many people burn their fingers when they do the interstate sale themselves. The third challenge with them is that they have lack of working capital always. Because once the production or the harvesting happens with the one crop, they cannot spend time to really sell that and wait till the working capital comes back because they need to prepare for the second crop. And that working capital issue is a huge amongst the all farmer community. And the third, that if they feel that, oh, they are not getting the right prices for their crop today, and still they let, assuming that they have some holding power, they don't have enough infrastructure to support for the storage. Now, the whatever challenges which we are sharing for the domestic, when it goes to the international, the complexity increases manifold because then you are dealing with the customer base which is completely outside your country with a different currency, with different culture, many unknown factors in the whole process. And as a reason, the exports becomes very, very challenging. And today, if 100 people start exporting out of India, specifically agri commodities, the success rate of surviving them for the next year or for another few years is very low. And that is maybe because of the complexity and the unreliability of the international supply chain. And when we talk about supply chain, it is not only the material flow, because normally people feel that supply chain means only good transportation. So it is very, very critical, but along with the material flow, there is a financial flow, there is a documentation flow, and there is an information flow. So when we take all four flows together, then we form the supply chain flow. And what we are trying to do in Origin Connect now, we build a platform where this ecosystem of the whole importers and the exporters, they require several services, and we all services, service providers or the channel partners for us are on the platform. So for example, if the exporters require the orders, they have a connect with the importers. If they feel that, okay, they got order, but then they need to have a right supply for the export, the exporter can get the suppliers on the platform. The suppliers normally for the exporters, they supply only on the cash or the payment on the same day. And this is a big challenge for the exporters. So we have a NBFCs on our platform, and we support exporters and the suppliers with the instant within 12 hours of working capital. Once the working capital given, the next problem and challenge with the exporter is about ocean freight. And you possibly who are export area or exporting background, they may understand the challenge in last 24 months. In April 2020, just take one example, say Nhava Sheva Jebali, which is let's say Maharashtra or India to Dubai, the ocean freight was $700. After 24 months now, in April 2022, it is gone beyond or maybe more than 3,100, which is 4.2 times increase in ocean freight. Now imagine the case where a small timer of exporter, and when I say small timer, who is maybe let's say 1 container per week or maybe up to 20 containers in a month, when they go and negotiate with the ocean freight with the forwarders or the carriers, they don't get a better price, and that is a huge cost, because earlier it was 20% of the trade, now it is crossing almost 40% of the trade. So they don't get a better price, so they don't have a competitive pricing. And what we provide is a competitive pricing, because we consolidate all maybe 100 or 200 today exporters to specific lane and negotiate with the ocean freight providers, which is freight forwarders or the carriers, and get a better rates, at least 10% lesser freight rate to our customers, which is exporters. And this is an immense value, that in a 3,100, even they save anything range from $50 to $200. That is substantial saving for them to become competitive in the international market. And we don't stop only providing the ocean freight service, but we provide the custom service, we provide the pack house service, quality management service, we provide the packaging at the lower cost. And it is not only that, but we provide transportation and then the whole documentation online, so that they don't have to follow up with the forwarder or the ocean freight service provider like carriers. We don't stop at the origin, we go our services up to destination, because small timer of exporter, they don't have offices in all destinations. So when their cargo leave their maybe pack house or the farm, after then they are completely mercy of the importer, and which is the major challenging factor in the international agri trade. So what we do is that we have a service provider and contacts and channel partners in a destination. We provide them the destination services if they required, and also the whole visibility online on their palm on the mobile app, so that they can understand where is their cargo, how the cargo in what stage, and what exactly when they will get money out of it. So this provides a complete visibility to them as an end-to-end supply chain visibility in the whole process, which makes their international agri trade more profitable, more cost efficient for them, and very, very reliable. And this is what the attempt Origin Connect is doing so far. We have about 500 exporters onboarded in only last 3 to 4 months where we started this portal product. We started with the working capital and the ocean freight and pack house. So origin services, the destination services, we are now starting for the Middle East. We started with Dubai and now we are rolling out to the other countries in the Middle East. And our plan is that in next 18 months time, that we will cover the market, which is the Middle East and Europe, and the importing countries like the Far East, India subcon, Africa, and some part of the Africa like Egypt, Turkey, and Pakistan as well. So this is what the model which we offer to our customers, which is appreciated by the customers. We have a stickiness of the customer which is about 90%, which is very good, and we are growing almost 200% month on month in this particular traction. We also got incubated now by the IIM Udaipur and IIM Calcutta, and also funded by them as a seed funding. And now we are raising about 1 million in next 6 months time from the VC and the angel investors. So this is what we are trying to share, what we are doing, why we are doing, who is going to get the benefit out of this. And I will possibly close my time here, and I'll wait for question and answer sessions when the turn comes, and happy to have a more interaction than a one-way communication with you all guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So nicely covering with numbers. End of the day, only qualitative aspects will not capture the what is going on. So you should know, come out with the numbers where you are telling 40% of the waste and all those things. It will give a fact so that people would understand better, in a better way, of what is the quantities, the how huge this the problem is. Thank you very much. So as you said, we'll get back to once the other speaker is completed with the session. I request all the participants to use chat or raise your hands to be participating in this discussion. You can use chat meanwhile when Sneha is going on this. With this, we'll move to our next speaker for today. Sneha, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we welcome Sneha Lakshman, co-founder of Samudra Network. So we are happy to say that they're part of our ecosystem. They're technology startup with which is planning to digitize farmer community, as well as working actively and directly with FPOs. So they do have a very good application where they're capturing the end-to-end data of a farmer, and they're making their supply chain efficient in terms of from backward linkages side. So at the same time, they're working on forward linkages also. With this, we welcome Sneha ma'am. Ma'am, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Am I audible?
You are audible, ma'am, but when your video is getting stuck once in a while, if you feel there is a problem, you can switch off in a video
I'll
and you
just
can
close the
continue.
video maybe. Yeah, I'll just close the
Okay.
video. Sir, I wanted to share a couple of slides. Shall I share from here or should I send you a link?
You can share, sir. Give me a couple of moments. Neha, can you please switch it to Sneha, ma'am? 1 minute. I think I can do it myself. No, I cannot do it. Yes, I can. I did it. Ma'am, you can do that now.
Thank you. Just put this on slideshow. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Sure, ma'am. We will do that.
Yes.
Not yet, ma'am. It says to start. Now we can see. You can go to the slide should complete.
Is it a full screen slideshow for you?
Everything good. All good, ma'am. Good to go.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think sir already introduced us. I am a co-founder of Samudra Network. We started about 4 years ago almost now. We set up our organization. We set up our company about 2.5 years ago. We've been working in agri tech and agri ecosystem space. Essentially, I think if I go forward and sort of articulate what we want to do and what is our goal, what is our vision for our own organization, we believe digital technology will be able to bring large scale changes and should be able to enable all participants in any ecosystem to be able to build trust and trade and interact and transact with each other in order for everybody's quality of life and business experiences to become better. So essentially, we want to leverage digital technology and the ecosystem linkages for different purposes in order to enable the increase in turnover, increase in access to finance, increase in scalability of operations. And we're currently focused essentially on farmer producer organizations and cooperatives. Just for the room, for everyone's common understanding and benefit, FPO or farmer producer company is a currently recognized by the government for the last 10 years as a form of company similar to a partnership or an LLP or a private limited, where farmers can come together and set up their own business enterprise. And the way the setup is built is essentially an aggregation. You should be able to leverage this business entity in order to leverage the benefits of aggregation, both from purchases of inputs and to be able to distribute, as well as to be able to aggregate the produce and move it to the ecosystem outside, right? Like wholesalers, like retailers, or even handle a brand. So that's the definition of a farmer producer company. It is still nascent in our organization, it's in our country. And it's the next step of what was a cooperative movement. The difference between a cooperative and an FPO would be that the FPO is built on profit structures, right? I'll move forward just to give a background of our own founders. Rajiv has been in building and selling, or rather participating in building and selling large-scale mobile-based technology across Asia, Africa, Europe. I'm in a call. Thank you. Sorry. Thought I'd close this door. I think you'll hear my child in the background. This is
okay.
what
Please,
I bring
please
as a
carry on.
woman in the room. Thank you. I'll just sort of recap. Rajiv has been building for the last 17, 18 years businesses in Africa, in Europe, and Asia countries. He's been working with Ericsson and has been able to set up mobile-based financial services. He's worked with India Post as well to set up the payments bank, etc. I have been working for the last 18, 19 years, working with large technology companies as well as startups in order to create products which are meaningful, which have value offering for markets such as India and Asia. We've worked in different ecosystems and understand e-commerce fairly in depth from both consumer-based e-commerce ecosystem as well as B2B e-commerce systems. So I'll just move forward. I think from our own experience, we landed up in agri-tech in a very open and outside-in manner. Both of us do not have a background experience in agriculture. However, since we've been working in these markets, since we have been largely working, trying to understand from various reasons, I was involved in education for the last 10 years. I've been visiting villages, trying to understand how education can become open, etc. And from that course of journey, has been exposed to the challenges that the ecosystem in agriculture has. It's fairly complex. I think all of us in the room understand that it's a large thing to move, and all of us are putting shoulder in order to move it, into better situations across multiple folds. So essentially, we landed up in digitization, asking ourselves, how can we make large scale impact? In the process of that, we were very clear that we want to, I think the FPO itself comes for us is a very close to heart, because even from personal philosophy perspective, from personal inclination perspective, we both have been of the value that if large communities can move forward, then there is a large betterment across the value system, rather than try and figure out how one person sort of a market and is able to sort of, we believe that creates a lot of imbalances for a society. From that perspective, we started talking to a lot of NGOs. We started talking to people whom we can provide digital tools and solutions. And it so happened that some of the people we started speaking to closely said that, hey, our entrepreneurs are FPOs, our entrepreneurs are farmers. Do you believe that digitization can help over here? And that started our journey. We worked with that concept and idea in mind for 2 years before even setting up and saying that we will initial work in this space, just for us to understand, are we able to contribute value? Can we actually make some change? So we believed that yes, over the course of 2 years of our exploration, talking to people, going down to the villages, going down to the FPOs, trying to, and we had a mobile-based product that we gave out there as a, you could call it as a POC, where people started to use it. All of this before we set up our organization, to be able to, try and understand, is there an intervention that is possible? Is there a meaningful, digitization that is possible? And with that experience, we came with the confidence that yes, there is, and digitization actually brings a lot of transparency, a lot of visibility, and gives control and power to the FPOs to be able to respond, to the market requirements, to be able to actually guide and carry a large group of farmers, right? 500,000, 5,000 we've seen FPOs working with farmers base, right? But we also know that every FPO is able to work with only, let's say, a limited number of farmers. 25 to 50 is what they're sort of actively working. And the reason that happens is because it's really complex to work with 500 people unless you have a technology framework to be able to guide you from there. Right? So that is sort of how we landed up with digitization. And just to cover how what our digitization currently offers, and this is probably a sort of a cap of what we currently offer as well as what we want to offer, right? We have a mobile first or a field first offering where the FPO staff on their mobile phone can install our application and use our application to conduct their FPO business. So we could think about it like a mini ERP that that tracks the transactions, that's and a mini CRM that has farmer information at the fingertips of each of these FPOs to be able to track against each of these farmers, how are they transacting with you over the course of time, and which opens out like a farmer passbook of transactions for the FPO, and to be able to understand what is available, to be able to understand who is growing what, track harvests, and to be able to map it on against what is arriving when to the FPOs or in their catchment area, coverage area, and to use that information in a sort of a power to negotiate with wholesalers, or to go to an export house and say, I have the ability to bring all of this to the table, right? Can we have conversations? This is what we have this ability to do. We have ability to use their catalog in both from input to be able to sell to the farmers as well as from output to be able to sell to the external marketplace. In the same ERP, in the businesses that they're doing, they are able to capture what is available and push it to a public marketplace. So our application is already a marketplace ready application, and to be able to understand what is the traceability to the level of detail that is required for the FPO to share, which is it could share right from farmer who this produce batch is coming from which farmers, or to the level of detail of this produce batch is coming from which village. Whatever level of detail they feel confident in sharing outside, they would be able to share, as well as track their value addition and processing. If I go forward, essentially from market linkages, because this is very important for any FPO to be able to be successful, what we are able to provide is allow for a public catalog where they can, using the ERP, the mobile tools that they have on their hand, take pictures on the produce, capture the information about the produce, and to be able to directly push it to a public catalog. What we are doing off digitization, but more in terms of managed work, essentially, is to be able to help the FPOs do relationship building. One of the core things we've identified during our journey has been agri marketplaces is very transactional. It is that particular trade, whether I got 50 rupees 50 paisa more or 2 rupees more per kilo or less, right? And that is very important. We can empathize with all the players that why that is important, because it means it means money. It means that maybe the farmer is keeping this aside for their son's education, daughter's education, or some family activities in their homes, and that money brings for them is attached to that value of what they want to do, right? It's just not their produce alone. It's their hard work, it's their toiling. However, if you are constantly focused on the transaction, you fail to miss out on relationships. When you have relationships, you're able to sail through ups and downs in a much more easy fashion. You're able to work with trusted players, and you have the confidence that nobody around you is taking you for a ride, and everybody is sort of focused on your best interests, right? And we face this. We have a brand which we have, like I mentioned brand in-house brand. During this journey, we realized that the FPOs need a house, a home, that produce. So we started purchasing the brand, purchasing produce, branding it as, articulating what should be the quality, and to be able to brand it and pass it to, wholesale marketplaces, right? This is a journey we've already begun, and we have experienced in this journey that there is going to be up and down, right? There is going to be a market up and down. Produces can become bad. It can on the way can lose their value, can get hit by rains. I think last year I think everybody in the community faced, for example, in copra, large scale losses, right? All of this essentially means that unless you have a relationship that you have with your FPCs, with your farmers, with your with your business endpoints like wholesalers and distributors, you will not be able to sail through this for long term. Right? I think Ajit mentioned about long-term relationship. You'll not be able to move long-term, in this sense. So we help almost like managed services, but we don't per se charge for it. It's more like community activity support that we do, which is helping with recurring relationships, helping via the brand, and helping via setting up their processes for grading, sorting, things that are required to increase and retain more value at the farmer end versus pushing it away towards the demand side. If I go back, just as a map, I think this is a map we charted, I think about 6-8 months ago. 6-8 months ago, to be able to chart out and say what are the villages that we have as coverage, right? So these red dots that you're seeing on the screen are the villages that we had coverage, and we've on top of this added now Assam, we've added UP, we've added Tamil Nadu, and more in Telangana, but this was the coverage that we had over the network. So essentially, there is a lot of knowledge that you can keep building. There's a lot of ability to to reach large scale farmer network because of the FPO, via the FPO, and that itself was the core belief, right? To be able to reach the farmer is sufficiently hard. However, you should be able to reach organized structures such as FPOs in order to establish good and healthy relationships with your supply side. I'll just stop here with 2-3 points, which I think as an ecosystem, all of us are aware. And all of us are continuing to work, and the challenges continues to be. So from upstream perspective, there is a lot of distrust in the marketplace. The farmers, the FPOs feel that people are out to cheat them. So they want to do a one-up, right? I want to be in a more safer space because most likely people are trying to take advantage of me, and maybe I don't know enough and other people know more than us, and therefore if someone is interested in asking for my produce, then automatically there is something that is going on which I don't know. So I probably up the numbers. Eventually the deal will not fall through, and then you have to go back to your regular systems, right? There's a heavy distrust in the marketplace. There is, we all know, I think I mentioned this is last 10 years journey. We know that there is a draining of resources. The youngsters are moving away from the villages, are forgetting the core knowledge inherent, let's say family knowledge that we have, and the people who are farming are also sort of losing touch and are dependent on other other systems to help them guide, and they don't necessarily have confidence in their own core indigenous knowledge. Of course, volatility in demand continues. We know climate change. We know this situation is getting perhaps worse, and therefore there is going to be heavy volatility in demand as well as supply. Right, this is the challenges that the farmer side face. On the other hand, there is same similar challenges that you are seeing in downstream. Since we have relationships there in both sides, we're able to see that demand side is not necessarily the best. I think we've come to empathize all the players in the value chain to be able to understand that nobody is really making large what's the right word? Large bags of money, right? Because consumer base is extremely sensitive to price. All of these, produce is taken from the rural markets and moved to urban markets. Urban markets, 80-85% of the base are people who are working hard and struggling and are extremely sensitive to price and don't necessarily understand quality or value, right? Essentially, when directly transacting with farmers or FPOs, the wholesalers, distributors face a challenge that they are never sure of delivery. We've heard this a number of times, both from administration, both from wholesalers, distributors, people who are even in the ecosystem helping the FPOs and farmers. They say, I don't know if I can pass on a number and say, go get the supply from this person, because things may not really happen, may not play out. There is certain promises that are kept, but then there is last minute distrust and everything just doesn't come through. So there's a lot of unsurety or uncertainty on the delivery directly. And from supply side, what is it that they continuously ask for, right? They say we are willing to create relationships, but what we need to do is to have consistent quality and consistent volume that comes to us. And this is an extreme challenge for all ecosystem players who are trying to facilitate and make things happen. These are challenges which I felt is which I wanted to share in the room. Yeah, I think I'm done with my thoughts. Open to questions and discussions.
Thank you very much, ma'am, sharing your experiences, how the farmers would react to the various offerings by you and how they are utilizing the services. I think we can come out with one learning from us for both the experience. The most important learning is, I think, focusing on B2B for the farmers, because even though how efficient is the FPO ecosystem, even the biggest of Indian startups, they're stopping at B2B, especially in agri sector, because of a lot of uncertainties in the market, prices, and fresh farm produce extremely difficult to maintain, high costs of storage and all those things. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, ma'am. With this, we'll be moving to the Q&A session for the next 20 minutes. So the one question asked by our one attendees today is how do you handle, how do you connect with the farmer's psyche? Because most of the times farmers would feel, irrespective of our intentions, they would feel that the middleman would always take more money out of it. They're getting less benefited. How do you take out from their mind? Because that's what everybody and anybody would come and talk about agri sector opportunities. They would come and say that I want to remove the middleman, without mentioning that there will be the new middleman. So generally, this would affect some of the farmers, psychologically or directly. So I would request you to share your experiences, both of you, and how you are dealing with in a way. Please, sir. Ajit sir, followed by Sneha ma'am.
First of all, in a supply chain, there will be some middlemen. Now, it is a very idealistic situation that the commodity or any agri product is moving directly from the farm to the fork. So if somebody expecting that it will happen automatically it will not happen that way. And let me tell you very clearly, even in a developed countries, there are channels. Only thing is in those channels, how we can build the transparency and visibility and the trust. That I think will improve the cost efficiency and reduce the trust issues and provide the real parameters where the people who are the both side, as Sneha mentioned, the downstream and the upstream, they can possibly get the visibility out. So what we believe is that I think we are far from at this stage of removing the intermediates. What we can do currently is that try to reduce the some layers of it. And I will give you an example. When farmer, when he goes to the mandi, he has to sell his produce at the mandi price of today. He don't have a choice. And why he don't have a choice? Because he already invested the time in the arranging for the transportation, having the loading done in the transportation, whole day bringing the produce from the farm to the mandi. So he don't have choice but to sell at the rate. At the same time, my experience is that if you go back to the farm to negotiate with the farmer, it will be very challenging that you don't get the same rate. So point is, it is not a challenge only from the customer side. It is a problem from the supplier side also, in terms of quality, in terms of rate, and in terms of the consistent volume. So that is my first comment. The comment two is that every supplier required a consolidator, so that consolidators work is that to get the market linkages. For example, in any manufacturing unit, if you say the automobile, what automobile do is that one unit is manufacturing and another whole sales force is selling across India or overseas. Now, unfortunately, we don't have that kind of a division when it goes to the farm. So I consider farm as a manufacturing or producing unit, and the whole intermediaries or the maybe mandi structure is a sales arm of the farm. How we can possibly make a market linkages with all the efforts of the all agri startups today which are in the market to connect the farmer with the market, which is maybe consumer, maybe retailer, or maybe wholesaler in a domestic and international market. That will be the key. So at the Origin Connect, we chosen international market because this is a space which is almost like a blue ocean. There hardly anybody is doing any work in that, and the market is substantially big. The last year export from India is almost 42 billion US dollar for the agri produce, and that is increasing 15% year on year for the last CAGR for last 7 years. And what our belief is that the kind of investment is happening in terms of agri production in the supply chain, this export part will increase substantially because there is a demand for the quality produce of India in the whole overseas across globe. So we are focusing on international linkage, and there are many startups are focusing in the domestic linkage. With all these efforts, I think one thing is happening with the farmer end is that they are getting the visibility of market rates across India, across globe. So they have more choices to really sell their produce either in the local mandi or in a domestic mandi across the states or in the overseas market.
Thank you very much for elaborative answers, sir. I would request Neha ma'am to weigh in here and talk about her experiences.
Thank you. I think Ajit covered quite a bit of important points. I'll just go at it a little bit more abstract and a little bit more with a little bit more empathy. I would think that a farmer has toiled quite a bit for like 3 months and 6 months, and that's once the produce is ready. In the time of criticality, where in the next X days he has to get that out of his hands, in order for it to be even valuable. Right now, we've come from years or months of hard work, and you've come to that specific climax situation where your nerves are a little bit frayed, right? You've done a lot of hard work. You have a fear that you may just, you have a risk, and you've taken very high risk. I think a few years ago, I was thinking that people say farmers are not taking risks. They don't take risks. Actually, if you look, they take the highest risk. It's when they come to the market is when they say, I want to take lesser risk, because during the journey of growing the crop, deciding what they have to grow, dealing with quality, dealing with the climate situation, the pests, etc., they have taken a huge risk of being able to sow this, and then the market uncertainty sort of kicks in. So you are in that situation. You're already in a situation where a certain someone feels, there is high risk. As a buyer, when you come in, you have money, you're willing to purchase. Of course, your risk is that you may lose certain transactions that you've made commitment for, and that can go a little bit higher, haywire, and that it's of course very critical on businesses. But you're not bringing your sort of life risks or your earning risks or that entire risk, right? So I think that itself should bring a certain amount of empathy for us. I also believe that how if you look at the way we all transact, right, we become friends and we start working with people whom we interact closely on a continuous basis with. And if you look at the transaction that is happening, that transaction is a very it's not a relationship based, or rather it is relationship based if you're thinking about it as a farmer and a trader, and they have a certain ongoing relationship. However, having said all of these, markets offer fairness, right? It's fair price. Everyone can come into a market and they can choose to sell or not to a certain price. Right? So markets do offer this, and therefore having well established market linkages for farmers, FPOs is what I believe will open more confidence, and that confidence will lead to people being more open and more investing in the ecosystem. Back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. See, there is a question about seed funding and all those things, sir. I think we would like to answer from our end. There are multiple schemes to fund you with the grants, subsidies, and even equities, depending upon your business model and alignment of a vision of that particular institute or an individual or organizations, even private funds. We request you write to us. We have given our mail IDs, and some of the attendees wanted to interact with us, both the speakers today directly. We have given their mail IDs also. Write to them. Our request whenever you write to our speakers is write a compelling mail so that they would come back to you. Instead of just trying for the information, it will help both the parties. Sir, one more question they were asking. So how the farmer will get order for this other countries directly, agri commodities? Before you start, we would like to throw in our experiences. Say, handling export involves a lot of things. It's not just about producing. It's about having the knowledge of the requirements, what kind of products they need, and having financial support. These are some aspects. However, Ajit sir would be able to throw more light on it. Please, sir.
Okay, so I think the start of the export process start with the getting order from the importer. And if you see the current scenario, whoever has the export orders, either they have some contacts, or maybe they have some family members there, or they get it some leads from maybe even the social media. I think the challenge lies with that, because there's a very less credibility check of the importer, because when he get the order, the export is so excited to accomplish that particular order, because it becomes like a fashion, or maybe getting a pride that I'm actually an exporter. And this is also a challenge, because most of the new exporters, they lose their money in the first 5 to 6 transactions. So I think important point here is about getting the order with a reputed source, and that is very, very critical. Otherwise, whatever you are doing is a big challenge. So what we do is that we have importers on our platform. Those importers are, we are audit check through the credit rating, through the banks on the overseas areas. So we have a star rating for them. And this is not a problem for the exporters, but even for the importer, this is a problem. Because there are many directories where if let's say somebody is sitting in Dubai, he can just get maybe about 500 exporters in India who can provide whatever different commodities. But is it possible that that importer trusts anybody out of this 500? I think the answer is no. So normally what happens with the importer and exporter, they fix with the maximum 2 to 3 known contacts. And that's the reason they restricted their ability to get a better quality, ability to get a better rate, and ability to get a consistent volume. What we are providing, that we are providing the whole ecosystem where the importers are onboarded, suppliers are onboarded, as well as importers are onboarded, and they can interact with each other. We are keeping everything open in terms of the rates so that they can directly deal. Even we give a contact details directly so that if they want to take a deal directly, we are fine. Ultimately, what our objective is that once they decide that I want to make a business with this importer and exporter, we are here to make their life easy. We are here to provide them the funding or requirement of the working capital initial time. We are here to provide them ocean freight. We are here to provide the all services at the origin and destination. So we become the enabling part for the export, right from the price discovery, right from the bidding process, right from the logistic support and the financing support also. So I think this is quite complex. But what we are attempting to do is that the way we are interacting with the WhatsApp today, or maybe the way we order with the Amazon or Swiggy or Flipkart today, which was not reality 10 years back. I think what we intend to do is that in next 2 to 3 years, the exporters who can be a farmer or the other trading house can interact with the overseas importers such a way that they can book, they can supply, and the whole transaction can happen through the Origin Connect. And that is what our vision is.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So we'll move to now the direct question and answers. So one will be starting with Prabhat, sir. You are there? Would like to talk? We have here with us Mr. Prabhat Kumar. Sir, before that, we would like to happy to share that both of our speakers here today is supported by RKVY-RAFTAAR grant under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare. So we hope this helps them to travel longer and help more and more farmers. Prabhatji.
Good afternoon, Yuvrajji.
Good afternoon, Ji.
The second one is Startup Samudra Network. That is very successful startups, and we have already shared their success stories on various times on social and print media.
Good to hear, sir.
I would like to ask something from Madam. Madam,
Please,
presently,
please.
how many FPOs, buyers, and suppliers are connected with you?
Thank you. Essentially, if you look the way we are structured, we layer the buyers over on top of whatever buyers that the FPO already has. Right now, at the moment, on our network, we have about on our digitization platform itself. So we have two layers in which we are interacting with FPCs. So the first layer is the ERP, the digitization network itself. On that, we have about 36 FPOs already on our platform. And what we also have is a light touch network, which is basically in a social media kind of context, where we have a group, a WhatsApp group of community. There we have about 100 FPOs. So that was a number you were seeking. from the business angle, right? From the side of how many buyers and how many people are you connected over on top. So FPU themselves have a certain network of their own, local network, whom they're working, or their own personal hardware earned network. What we layer is we bring in on top of that. So we look out and try and seek very stable, scalable partners whom the FPCs that we have across the country can actually reach out, and that level of produce can be consumed by those wholesalers. So from that perspective, we have limited number. We have a good, like if I look at the numbers, they are very top wholesalers and online marketplaces. They are like the biggest in the country, but the list that we have is about 7 that they're really wide and then can actually consume produce from across the country, because that's the kind of demand they cater to.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I mean, ma'am, where these buyers and suppliers, you are getting these buyer suppliers through FPOs. Hello.
Yeah, I lost that question.
Yeah. You are getting these buyer list, supply list through these registered 36 FPOs.
No, what I meant is as Samudra, we go and seek and establish relationship with external wholesale B2B large players, and when we converse, we say, hey, you have an ability to unlock produce across these FPCs, and so via the platform, the buyers are unlocked for the FPCs. So FPCs themselves already have their own network. So this is a tier or a layer on top of their network. So I'm only talking about the layer on top. I'm not talking about the layer that FPCs already work with.
That's great, man. Then, I mean, every FPOs have somehow function. Their function is different from one another. Okay. So how you aggregate their data on your dashboard?
Yes. So I think the way to sort of look at how we are approaching this is the FPCs literally use our platform for maintaining their setup and systems. So we have abstract way of capturing the harvests, and from that abstraction, they can look at their own arrivals. So we don't really monitor or open access to each FPC's arrivals outside the platform without a handshake with FPCs. So FPCs, when they are ready to share their produce and their availability to a public platform, is when they have a certain place open within the platform. They can say, I am ready to sell for external participants, and that's where they signal that they are ready to sell. Out within that layer is a layer that they maintain for themselves. They, for example, many of these FPCs do 3 months once, 4 months once baseline survey, which basically tries and reaches out to the farmers and try and understand what are they growing. That is captured on the digital platform on their mobile tools, and that aggregation gives them arrivals understanding. What are they going to get in the next 3 months or next 6 months? Visibility they get. All this is managed by themselves and not us. Only the layer where they are saying that they're willing to transact outside of their own network and their own, construct is there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, madam. This is a great revolution technology for digitalization of all the FPOs across the country. And hopefully within 2-3 years, you will reach some more milestones destination.
Yes, Prabhaji, one more thing also. We are having today many of our participants asking,
Okay. They may
to
ask.
connect.
Yeah.
They're asking to connect to Sneha madam so that they can immediately discharge their FPOs.
Yeah. Also,
So,
madam,
We'll be very
you can
happy.
take the authentic list of FPOs. I will request that you should just connect the FPO registered in other part of country, like several FPOs are in northeast states and in northern India. Just I have seen in the map you are covering towards southern India, somehow in western India you have covered FPOs.
Yes, I will. Yes, I was just
Yes.
mentioning, I actually wanted to put the latest map out.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm showing a map which is about maybe 6 months ago. So we are covering Telangana, we're covering
Yeah.
Tamil Nadu, we're covering West Bengal, we're covering UP. Northeast is something, yes, we've had discussions. We yet to sort of close those discussions out. But thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much.
I feel humbled by your appreciation.
thank you.
Thank
Before we,
Yuvraj sir,
yes,
I
please,
can
sir.
see maybe I can see another opportunity of collaborating with the startup itself, and I was just understanding it through Sneha that how maybe Origin Connect and the Samudra Network, both organization can collaborate, because if the Samudra Network has so many FPOs and they are currently focusing in a domestic market, we can possibly provide them access for the overseas market also, so that their market linkages can be expanded beyond India. So I was just thinking maybe offline I can interact with Sneha on that.
Please, sir. So this is a platform not just for sharing knowledge, but networking also. Mr. Gokul was there who was asking for a connect. So Gokul, sir, we will be sharing the connects, all the phone numbers, email IDs with all the participants. Please use them judiciously. Take the time, the respect the others' times. That's the reason generally we share mail IDs so that at their leisure they can connect to you. If there is a synergist, definitely they'll share numbers and take it forward. Everybody knows that startup, however, they're limited time with the founders filling in multiple roles. Thank you very much. We would like to thank our Director General Manage, our Director Agriculture Extension, Dr. Sharanan Raj, and our Center CEO. Would like to thank our both the startups being here, sharing their knowledge. Our team, Neha and Sinu, who worked behind this, all other CAA team. Last but not the least, more than 220 plus people have come and attended here and spared your time. We are sincere apologies for not taking up some of the questions. So that's the reason we have shared all the mail IDs, managed mail ID, mail IDs of all the speakers. We have our own platform. So you can use our social media also. Please, and our batch 7 applications are open under RKVY-RAFTAAR. We request everybody go to the application form leisurely. We have a last date till May 15th. It's a good opportunity for you not only get funded but also get networking opportunities. This helps. Just now we have shown opportunity how you can get opportunity to network. We wish all the best. You can always talk to us to go to the next level. Managers here for you. With this, we'll sign off. We'll come back next week at our 83rd webinar at 11 a.m. Thank you very much. Have a